Grief is the price we pay for love. The reality is that you will grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one, you will learn to live with it. Grief can be a burden, but also an anchor. You get used to the weight, how it holds you in place. Grief is not as heavy as guilt, but it takes more away from you. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. What we have once enjoyed, we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. The pain passes, but the beauty remains. Tears come from the heart, and not from the brain. The darker the night, the brighter the stars, the deeper the grief, the closer is God. Grief is the agony of an instant, the indulgence of grief, the blunder of a life. Grief is like the ocean, it comes on waves ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm, and sometimes it is overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. To weep is to make less the depth of grief. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that, in truth you are weeping for that, which has been your delight. The only cure for grief is action. Grief can be a garden of compassion. If you keep your heart open through everything, your pain can become your greatest ally, in your life's search for love and wisdom. The risk of love is loss, and the price of loss is grief, but the pain of grief is only a shadow, when compared with the pain of never risking love. Grief is not a disorder, a disease, or a sign of weakness. It is an emotional, physical, and spiritual necessity, the price you pay for love. The only cure for grief is to grieve. Grief is the price we pay for being able to love. It's the tax on having a heart. You don't go around grieving all the time, but the grief is still there, and always will be. No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. Everyone can master a grief, but he that has it. Grief is a process, not a state. Grief changes shape, but it never ends. To spare oneself from grief, at all cost can be achieved, only at the price of total detachment, which excludes the ability to experience happiness. Grief is the last act of love we have to give to those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was great love. Grief is the price we pay for being alive. It is the cost of commitment and love.